Get ready to be jolted out of the ordinary and into a world where conversations are charged with intensity and facts. The Lightning Strike Talk Radio with your host, Mohammed Fahim, broadcasting live from the heart of the city on Chicago's Progressive Talk Radio, WCPT 820 AM. Welcome to a radio show that charges through the airwaves with an electricity like no other. Here's your host, Mohammed Fahim.
Good morning, Chicago, and good morning to the entire world over there listening to us on WCPT over here. This is your host, Mohammed Fahim, coming to you live from the studios today. Joining me in the studios is Congresswoman Marie Newman.
Good morning.
And also joining us on the line are Ken DeLuke, Read Bible,
folks.
Carl Moose, and our person of the week is John Petrick. We'll just get into that in a minute. I also have in the studios with us today two of our new intern producers joining us. And Adriana, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
And Dolly, welcome to the team.
Thank you.
So you're going to be hearing a lot more from them as we go, folks. And I got some news that I wanted to share with you today. And that is going to be that starting September 7th, we are going to be on for 2 hours. So from 1 hour to 2 hours. And we are completing our 2 years on the radio over here with WCPT. But today, this, again, is going to be one of those days where we are going to be talking a lot about what is happening in the world out there. You are welcome to join the conversation. We are actually going to be having a specific segment for our callers to call in. And that is going to be What's on Your Mind, and that segment is sponsored by Ray Hanania of rayhanania.com. We'll be talking more about Ray as we go. But we're going to talk about Israel's plan to occupy Gaza City, what it means for peace and regional stability, Governor Kristi Noem's ICE hiring move, no age limits on education, no limits on education, no age limits, what this could mean for immigration enforcement. The Health and Human Services Secretary Kennedy pulls vaccine research funding for public health implications and political fallout. What is that going to be? Texas redistricting battle, the fight over voting rights and democracy itself, folks. And President Trump's new tariffs and economic policy. Who wins and who loses? And Marie, good morning.
Good morning.
So, before we get into with our person of the week, John Petrick, a good friend of mine, Marie, what the heck is happening?
So with regard to Israel?
With regard to Israel, we'll carry that, but with this Kennedy guy pulling research funding, you told me that someone got shot again? What happened to that? We
all know the backdrop, right, is that Secretary Kennedy is an anti-vaccine person, has a following, the Maha following, right?
Yeah.
It's very disturbing, right? Because what happens is that these kooks come out of the woodwork when they get attached to a conspiracy like the idea that, this crazy idea that vaccines don't work. And there's no evidence, there's no scientific data that supports that crazy notion, right? So this kook comes out of the woodwork and shoots someone at the CDC. Then Secretary Kennedy says, well, that's not really us, and that's not attached to us, and does this fancy footwork around it. And it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous response. So Kennedy just shows further, not only is he ill-equipped from a background and an expertise specific to vaccines and other data-based medicine, he also is not a leader. When you can't address a shooting, you're not a leader.
Yep, so we will be back and dive into it in more details. Maria Muzaffar is actually traveling out of the country, so she is not going to be joining us on the show today. But I want to introduce our good friend, John Petrick, who is our person of the week. And Dylan, John Petrick and I have known each other for so many years now. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Mohammed. Pleasure to be with you.
Man, what a voice. Your voice is made for radio.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So, folks, John Petrick was the Dean for Career Education at DeVry when we first met, right, John?
That is correct.
And when I started the Employment Hour TV show, John was my first guest on the show. That's how far back we go with each other. So, John, post-retirement now, what are you up to, my friend?
Well, it's good to be in retirement, Mohammed, and I still follow the job market and the job search process and how it's changed since I was with DeVry University. But a lot has changed.
Okay, and you have seen the transition to the job market when we were doing the employment hour and some of the workshops that I was doing with the Department of Employment Security when I was working with them. And you have always been at the forefront of this, John. Today's job seekers, what do they need to know about finding a job now?
You know, the elements of job-seeking skills really hasn't changed a lot. It's still very important to have proper training, education, or experience, to have a concise resume. But what's more important than ever, I think, is good communication skills, especially verbal. I think social media has often disregarded some of the verbal communication needs for networking, for contacting employers, and that verbal face-to-face, getting out and networking is so important in finding a job today.
You know, John, one of the terms that I was using in the workshops that I put together, I was not using the term networking as much because networking is for computers. Human beings need to connect in person. And
yes,
that is something that people really need to take away from the discussion today. So, folks, plenty of jobs out there. John, do we have to be afraid of the AI revolution coming in and taking away jobs? Marie is shaking her head.
That is a major factor in some job markets. My granddaughter just graduated from DePaul with a degree in creative writing, rhetoric, and discourse, and she's looking for a writing and editing job, but she's going up against AI in a sense, with some companies referring to that more than to human talent.
Well, I think it's because the companies have these young snippers who are working over there now who just want people to come in and do the AI deal on this. John, final thoughts. How can people make a difference in today's world? Let me share a story with you, okay? We wanted to get some interns on the show over here. So I reached out and put up an ad on LinkedIn. We had about 15 people apply for that. And then a good friend of mine referred a person to me. So the person that he referred to writes me a text message saying, introducing herself and stuff. I'm a good writer, blah, blah, blah. And I said, please send me samples of your writing by email. And she responded back that I'll send it out to you by the end of the day today. So today ended, nothing. The day after today ended, nothing. On the third day, I called my friend who had referred. I said, hey, your person is not responded. And she said, I'm going to reach out to her right now. I get another text message saying, I'll have something for you by the end of the day for sure. The day ended, nothing. So I had to cut her off. Okay. Privileged upbringing. That's all I can think of. Another guy that I reached out to said, I got all that information on my LinkedIn bio. Please read it. No, the instructions were that please email it to me. And if you don't follow those instructions from a potential employer, you're not going to get the job or the internship, right?
Oh, that is so correct. I mean, references are important, and going, to your field of interest and talking to people, but following up and sending thank you to anyone you talk with. That thank you letter, or even if it's an email, is so critical to showing promptness and follow-up.
Okay, wonderful. So, folks, you got it from the horse's mouth or John's mouth. John, I don't think you're a horse. I'm so sorry. Okay. Okay. But you got it from John's mouth. Follow-ups are important. And thank you so much, John, for joining us. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back on the other side of the break. We got Bushra Amiwala joining us shortly. She's running for Congress in the 9th District. And then we will dive into what the heck is happening with Israel trying to occupy Gaza City.
Calling all residential and commercial property owners. If you're like me, you're sick and tired of paying high electric bills, which, by the way, are on the rise. You're also probably unaware of the federal, state, and utility incentives that you qualify for. Take out a piece of paper and a pen and write down this number, 630-785-0031. Again, 630-785-0031. Give Greenlight a call for a no-cost, no-obligation energy assessment, and we'll show you which federal, state, and utility incentives you qualify for. Again, 630-785-0031. Give us a call, 630-785-0031.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the Lightning Strike. I'm your host, Mohammed Fahim, over here on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk radio station. With me in the studios, Congresswoman Marie Newman, and we'll take a quick phone call from Michael, and then we'll jump into our topics for the day, Marie. Michael, good morning. You are on the air.
Hello. Thanks for taking my call. I believe that ranked choice voting is the modern, intelligent, and the best way to vote. A lot of people are not voting because they only have one little vote. Even when 9 or 10 or 11 people are running for an office, they only have one vote. Ranked choice voting gives you 5 votes. So you have more votes to work with, and you have a better chance to influence the election. You have your first place vote, your second place vote, and so forth.
Yep, I think a lot of people need to be educated, Michael, as to what ranked choice voting is, and we do need some more education on that. Marie, what do you say?
You know, I've warmed up to ranked choice quite a bit in the last 5 years. When I first started looking at it probably 7 or 8 years ago, I wasn't as attracted to it. Now, seeing it in action in California, the New York City primary, and a few others, it really does give you that. Michael, you raise a great point, is that there are very few voters where if you come back in another round and say, hey, this person lifted to the top, would you go for him? They likely would coalesce, right? It's about coalescing and evaluating and sacrificing those that don't make it to the top. So it is, interestingly, a more American and more democratic way. And also, like, one might even say that a conservative would like it, too, because in a ranked choice environment, you could have people from different parties rising to the top, and you're choosing based on issues that they are good at, right?
Okay, wonderful. Michael, thank you so much for your call. We've got a couple of guests coming in the studio today. And, folks, if you want to join the conversation, the number to call in, or you can even text us on this number, 773-763-9278. Marie, Israel's plan to occupy Gaza City.
Oh, God.
I mean, what the heck is happening, and why are we using, seriously, our tax dollars to fund this continuing genocide that is happening in Israel, guys?
Well, I just did my live stream on Substack on this with Ryan Grimm, and we had a long, hearty discussion about this idea that Netanyahu thinks he can take over the Middle East because he's just like Putin, right? Just like Hitler. He's on the march now. So he's going to take over Gaza. If you think that Syria and Jordan and Egypt are not on the plate, they are. So he is a dictator that wants to take over a region, right? So starting with Gaza, though, just disgusting. So let's look at the facts. He burned it down, killed at least 60,000 people, possibly 100,000, and has decimated nearly every building, including hospitals and schools, right? So he's going to take that over. And he also is very clear. He talks about evacuation and moving them. That is just still part of the umbrella of ethnic cleansing, right? So he is someone that believes in ethnic cleansing and taking over countries by pure brute force. So why is this allowable? Why would the U.S. ever align themselves with a dictator? Why? You know why? And let me just answer that. Because we have a dictator now. That is the problem.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, folks. And that is something that we have to understand. We have, again, so much angst right now with the public that I don't know how much we can educate people. Reed, I need your take on that, and then we'll see what Ken and Carl have to say. And if someone could please go get our guest who is on the door, just bring her in.
Well, good morning, Mohammed. Just as you have John Petrick as a voice perfect for radio, I balance him up by having a face that's perfect for radio. Let's see. How many ways can we say that what Bibi Netanyahu or Benjamin Netanyahu is doing is just plain outright a violation of international law, criminal law. And his whole cabinet has decided that it wants to just take over all of Palestine. There is no room for Palestinians. We're just going to have Greater Israel now.
Yeah, and the excuse that he's coming up with is, oh, no, we tried for 2 years or whatever. Hamas is so ingrained in there. We're going to have everybody cleaned out. We don't want the Palestinian Authority. We don't want Hamas. We're going to have our own new people coming in. We want the Arabs to come in, and all kinds of excuses to stay out of jail. I mean, Benjamin Netanyahu needs to be in prison as soon as possible. And I don't care what AIPAC has to say. I don't care what all our... Murray, what was the last thing that... I remember you saying that how many of our Congress people have sold themselves?
89% of Congress, but that is both Democrats and Republicans, 89%.
89% of Congress, folks. And speaking of Congress, we have a congressional candidate who just walked into our studios, and Bushra Amiwala is here, and we'll bring her on in just a few minutes. And Bushra, thank you so much for coming into the studios on a Sunday morning. We are having some great discussions over here. And Carl, I want your take on what is happening in the world now, and how can we make a difference over here?
Well, obviously, there's many ways. With regard to science and technology, you all know that I'm all about renewable energy and producing our own energy. So that's from my perspective. That's one of the things that anybody here in the U.S. can do. I mean, if you have strong opinions about the environment or what's happening, with renewable energy or fossil fuels or anything related to that, start at home. I mean, that's the place. And, Mohammed, you're a good example. You've got solar on your home. You've taken control of your energy, so you're one step removed from, the powers to be that want to force their way of producing energy and distributing energy on you. So, that's where I come from. There's many other ways. But with regard to that simple, that's one simple
and Carl,
way.
This whole argument about renewable energy and fossil fuels and all of that, and how American interests are so intertwined with the Middle East that we got to have friends in the Middle East. Israel is not an ally, folks. Israel is dragging us down, and we need to make sure that we understand that. Let's continue the conversation with Bushra Amiwala. Good morning, Bushra.
Hello, good morning. Good to see you all. Happy to be here in studio.
Well, welcome to the WCPT studios. And Bushra, a little bit of introduction. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience over here?
Of course, good to see you all. My name is Bushra Amiwala. I was born and raised on the north side of Chicago, moved to Skokie when I was 9 years old, and the differences in the education system I saw growing up was a guiding principle for me. I now serve on the Board of Education for the schools that I once represented growing up, and it's been 7 years since serving in that capacity, and I'm now a candidate to represent Illinois' 9th Congressional District in Congress.
7 years on the school board?
Yeah.
Come on. When did you start? When you were like 10?
I first ran for office when I was 19 years old, so definitely was a teenager.
Okay. Murray, as a congresswoman now, what would you advise Bushra?
Well, as I've seen, she's doing all the right things, right? She really knows her district. The number one job, and it's really your only job at the end of the day, is to be in alignment with your district and represent your district, even if it differs from your colleagues in Congress, right? Mm-hmm. And so what your district is telling you is tantamount and always, and you have to carry it around like you carry a child around. So what I see in Bushra is she is effectively everywhere in her district, and she's really understanding their voice and what they want and need. So I would say she's doing a whole lot right, and her goal now is to learn everything she needs to know about representing them in Congress and learning those skills.
And she has some big shoes to fill. Jan Schakowsky was there for such a long time, and so you got a lot of people who are going to be expecting big things from you.
Agreed. And I think we carry that legacy with us. By no means do we expect to replace it in any way, but you take that into account and consideration with the nuance that we bring and the perspective that we share with every different policy ideal and platform that one could have during a race as such.
Okay. So, Bushra, when you decided to run for Congress, what was the biggest challenge that you thought that you were going to face? I mean, of course, other people are going to be running. But from a candidate perspective, especially in today's fractured world, to put it mildly, what was your biggest challenge?
There's a couple that come to mind. The first thing that came to mind was money, and I think that money is the root of every other micro challenge that a candidate could face in today's environment. So if I think that my story will be misconstrued or said in words that aren't actually true to me, then I need money to make sure I get ahead of that story. If I want to make sure that there's something I'm proud of and excited to share with every single person in my district, I need money to make sure that happens. So the fundraising component is challenging, and I knew that it would be, and it's the root to everything.
Okay, so how about public funding for elections?
I'm very for it. We should definitely overturn Citizens United as well.
Okay, ranked choice voting. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, I think at the federal level, it's interesting to see how that turns out. But Skokie's the first municipality in Illinois 9 that actually adopted ranked choice voting. And we saw how it helped elect a very exciting progressive mayor for this election cycle recently.
Okay, I know that you are headed out to attend a parade on Devon Avenue today. But if you would like to continue the conversation, we're going to be having a panel discussion today on a lot of topics. You're welcome to stand, stay with us over here. And let's jump into, again, the Gaza City thing, Marie.
Yeah.
What does it mean for peace and regional stability?
Well, it is not helpful if an authoritarian dictator like Bibi Netanyahu comes and says, hey, I'm going to conquer another space. I've already annexed a bunch of spaces, and now I'm not. That's just not helpful to ceasefire or coming to peace. What would be helpful is that if Bibi Netanyahu actually negotiated in good faith, sat down at the table with the international community led both the Palestinians and the Israelis to a place where they had the type of government they want. And for me, it makes no difference. If you want one state, two state, Belgian model, federated union, they should get the model of government that those peoples desire, right? But what cannot continue is the genocide. This is a genocide. Let's all be super crystal clear on that. It is a genocide by definition, and we see it with our own eyes. So I think that all of that has to be ceased before we can even get to a discussion. But we do have to take this opportunity, this tumult, and bring the international community together to create a viable situation in Palestine and in Israel, so everybody's free, self-determined, and self-governed.
So, from your point of view now, as a candidate, are you seeing this topic come up in your public forums, Bushra?
Not as much in the public forums, but afterwards in one-on-one conversations, I've had a ton of people come up to me, specifically in Skokie and in the North Shore, which historically has been a predominant Jewish area. And we know that Judaism and Zionism is not one and the same. But I've had people directly ask me that, how can you assure that by electing someone like you being myself, how can you validate that I will feel safe in your communities? To which my gut reaction has to be apologize and validate the feelings that they feel, but that's also not my job and responsibility at the same time, because why is this question not being posed to the 18 other candidates in this race right now?
Well, and that is something that also really came up very strong in the New York mayoral primary, right? And Mamdani was basically accused of being anti-Jewish and anti-Semitic and all of that. And folks, this is something that I've already always spoken about. The Semites actually are the people of Palestine. Those are the Semites that are out there, not this people who have come in from Russia and Poland and all of that and changed their names to reflect and sound more Jewish. Those are not the Semites, folks. Netanyahu is not the Semite. Let me just be clear about that. Okay, we got Dolly over here with us, and Dolly is Jewish. And Dolly, what are your thoughts on that? I would love to hear your take on this. Dolly is joining us from today as one of our producers, and I want to see what her take on this is.
Well, thank you again, first off, for having me. I've actually been struggling with this political issue for a long time, with the war for a long time. I have a lot of family who is, I'd say, conservative, and they might be listening right now. So I'll get that end of the stick later when I come home. Unfortunately, but what it comes down to for me is freedom, peace, and happiness for every human involved. And I've seen Palestinians hurt, and I've seen Israelis hurt. I've seen Jewish people hurt. Mm-hmm. I've seen so much destruction and violence that I can't even sometimes wrap my head around. That makes my heart break. That is sometimes is connected to Judaism, and that hurts me because I know Judaism is so much more than just land. It's so much more than just a nationality, and I understand how people can connect Israel and Judaism as it is or has become the Jewish state. But I think a lot of people forget that Judaism is so much more than that. And, you know, we say l'chaim, l'chaim to life, and like we really believe in that. And we can talk to Israeli citizens as well who oppose Netanyahu, who vehemently just oppose the war constantly. They protest. They make sure they're doing what is right to criticize the actions of their government. And with that, we can see that everyone just deserves freedom. Everyone just deserves peace and a state of mind where they can live in safety.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for chiming in on that, Dolly. Here's the thing, folks. Some of my best friends are Jewish people, okay? I've got a great community of Jewish people that are friends, and we discuss things all the time. And I think this entire thing is actually bringing down Judaism and Jewish people. This has nothing to do with the religion of it is another religion, Abrahamic religion of peace, basically. And these Zionists are just messing up the whole thing. And we have to kind of like taking like when you say terrorism and Islam, for example. Mm-hmm. Terrorism has nothing to do with Islam. Those people are outside the pale of Islam when you come up with Islamic terrorists. The word Islam means peace, so how can you be a peaceful terrorist? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that by itself is not going to be something that we can talk about. But we got a lot more things to discuss today, folks. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back on the other side of the break. We got Congresswoman Murray Newman and a future Congresswoman, Bushra Amiwala, in the studios with us today. And on the phone, we have Ken DeLuke, Reed Bible, and Carl Moose joining us. If you want to join the conversation, you can text us or you can call us on 773-763-9278. This is the Lightning Strike Talk Radio, and I'm your host, Muhammad Fahim.
Calling all residential and commercial property owners. If you're like me, you're sick and tired of paying high electric bills, which, by the way, are on the rise. You're also probably unaware of the federal, state, and utility incentives that you qualify for. Take out a piece of paper and a pen and write down this number, 630-785-0031. Again, 630-785-0031. Give Greenlight a call for a no-cost, no-obligation energy assessment, and we'll show you which federal, state, and utility incentives you qualify for. Again, 630-785-0031. Give us a call, 630-785-0031.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Muhammad Fahim.
Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the Lightning Strike. I'm your host, Muhammad Fahim, in the studios today. With me, again, Congresswoman Murray Newman, former Congresswoman Murray Newman, and future Congresswoman Bushra Amiwala in the studios with us today. Governor Kristi Noem's ICE hiring move. And I want to get Reed's take on that. Reed Bible is an immigration attorney, former Will County board member, and also a retired special agent special supervisory agent with the Department of Homeland Security, and he is our co-host on the show with us. Reed, what does it mean, man?
Yes,
no age or education limits, and now former Superman Dean whatever wants to be an ICE agent?
Oh, this is getting more and more Looney Tunes all the time, isn't it? I do have a couple of comments, and then I actually have a question I'd like to pose to both Bushra and to Dolly. But first, my comments about ICE is that, like I said, I'm a retired supervisory special agent, and one of the things that with ICE, and what I have always found extremely important is training. And we have to have good recruits who are educated people. You can't just have people who have nothing more than a high school education and expect to turn them into good agents when they haven't demonstrated the discipline of being able to get some kind of a degree. A degree is important here, folks, because you're interacting with people, and you are going to have the authority of carrying a deadly weapon, a gun, if necessary, to enforce law. And I would always like to know that I have people who I have to supervise who have demonstrated an intellect by earning a bachelor's degree, and it can be in any profession. It could be in biology, it could be in computer science, history, whatever it might be, because it demonstrates that you have an intellect and you can do critical analysis. And without it, it's ridiculous to think that somebody straight out of high school could be an agent and not have problems.
Hey, Reed, if you look at all the appointees that Trump has got now in his cabinet, all his cabinet appointees, they all have a degree in psychology, okay? When I say psychology, I don't mean psychology. It means sucking up to Trump, okay? So you suck up to Trump and you get a job. I made a new term right now, my friend, okay? So let's get into what we want to say about the Health and Human Services Secretary, Kennedy. So, Marie, again, this guy, what's wrong with him? I mean, is that worm still in his brain?
I'm not going to comment on his medical issues for sure, because I think those are vast and deep, both on the mental health side as well as the physical health side. Those are deep. What I will say is that he is not qualified. So back to your note about being unqualified, he's quite possibly the most unqualified human you could have in that space. So the fact that his appointment was so political in nature instead of based on credentials, and then the fact that every single Republican, including Senator Kennedy, who is an MD, said, yes, we would like this, this individual with no expertise, no science background, no medical background, has kooky conspiracy theories as the base of his platform. Every Republican should be quite ashamed right now.
Well, so you got it from the horse's mouth, folks. Every Republican should be quite ashamed, not just of this, of the entire MAGA movement that is happening over there. I mean, these guys are going nuts trying to reshape America in fact, someone said the other day, America is not a democracy. It is a republic. They don't want to use term.
No. Actually, let's be honest about what it is.
Yeah.
So our model of government is a blend of a republic and a democracy.
Yep.
It is a very unique government model. We don't live in either lane. We are both. The closest we get to is a constitutional republic, but all of our tenets are democratic, right? So at the end of the day, saying that we are a blended democracy, a republic is the best way to describe our government model.
Yeah, there's this movement out there now. They don't want to use the word democracy because of the Democratic Party. I mean, that is so crazy. So, Bushra, you are actually setting yourself up to get into the nut house over there in Washington when you get elected. So be prepared. You're going to run into some big nuts over there. Texas redistricting battle. Go ahead, Ken.
Okay, now, Bushra, when you do get elected, and you will, okay, when you do get elected, being a brand new freshman Congresswoman, wouldn't it be a great idea if you propose that there be a constitutional amendment to take this gerrymandering nonsense off the table and make districts that are geography-wise set up to where it's not going to be a red district or a blue district, it'll be a purple district, and then the representatives that are running for office would have to be responsible for their constituents and not for their party. Wouldn't that be a cool idea?
Thanks for the question. I think regardless of how the gerrymandering is skewed to favor one party or another, I think the bottom line is that splitting communities apart is what historically gerrymandering has been rooted in, and that is what I am not in favor of. So even the district that I live in, Illinois 9, as an example, we stretch 45 miles wide in one congressional district, which was not the case even 20 to 30 years ago when this district map has continuously been redrawn. So I would argue that in the attempt to bring in more red areas within this net blue district has actually further split and divided more communities as opposed to furthering one party agenda versus another.
Well, and some of these people that came over from Texas over here, the governor over there is threatening to have them arrested. He's threatening to fine them $500 per day. I mean, these guys make $7,200 per year as a state rep, okay? They don't mint money over there.
It's a part-time job in Texas.
It's
truly,
like
by description.
Right?
Yeah.
Most of the time, it is a part-time job. And so our governor over here at least has put his foot down. And I believe there was some threat also to these people in the hotel that they were staying.
There's a bomb threat in the hotel.
There's a bomb threat. So we got a bunch of MAGA nuts running around in our part of town also, folks. If you see somebody with one of those MAGA hats on, call the police on them, okay?
So before, I don't want to leave that topic about our MAGA neighbors. So one of the things we all have to get used to, as much as we may feel one way or the other, is that we do have to open discourse again, right? We can't be a nation where we're not talking to the 1/3 of the nation that is ride or die for President Trump, right? Mm-hmm. We do have to start making some bridges. This is a great time right now. Trump's polling his net aggregate poll is at 37, right? So across all polls in overall approval. And he's down on immigration and affordability, which are the two things that people hired him for the job, right? So this is a great opportunity to say to our MAGA neighbors that we don't agree with online, hey, the reason that you said that you hired this guy to do this big job and he's failing and he continues to fail at it, can you at least admit that you were lied to? I think we all have to start adopting some really good language tools around, hey, he lied to you. He's not getting the job done, and he apparently is unqualified, as is his cabinet. So those are the things I think we need to start reaching out to our MAGA neighbors and talking to them about, because I think that we're already seeing lots of independents peeling off from Trump. So let's open the discourse to our MAGA neighbors and start having some more honest conversations. And don't get me wrong, very hard to do. Very, very, very hard to do, believe me.
Yeah, but we have to understand, folks, that at the end of the day and at the beginning of the day, we are Americans, period. Right. It is not red, blue, green, white, yellow, or any kind of colors that you want to put up. When I travel and I pull out my passport, it says U.S. citizen. It does not say Republican or Democrat or Independent or XYZ. And we have to come back to that and put America first. Put America first in the sense that even a lot of hardcore right-wingers now are understanding that something is definitely wrong when we are spending our treasure and our resources to prop up a foreign country and their agenda over America first, right? Where does it bring in that I can criticize America, I can criticize America's policies, America's president, but I can't say anything against Netanyahu or the Jewish state, and my president is threatening me over here that I'm going to put sanctions on you, I'm going to get you arrested if you say anything against Israel. Why?
I think we all know why, is that it's all about money, going back to Bushra's comments, right? Our current Congress is bought and sold by AIPAC and Democratic Majority for Israel, United Democracy, all of these AIPAC affiliates, right? Israel, this isn't about the Israeli citizens, right? We love and care for them. We love and care for them. We want them to be safe and free.
Right to exist. Okay.
Yeah, this is only about the government.
Yep.
And Bibi Netanyahu's far right-wing government is not representative of a good ally to the U.S. Right now, there are very few countries actually that will even support Israel, right? So why are we going all in on them when they are treating us so badly, right? The reason is because our congressional members are bought and sold by AIPAC and Democratic Majority for Israel and all those Israel-backed foreign lobbies, right? So this should be no surprise to anyone. What we should be doing is outlawing corporate PACs, so all of the healthcare, big healthcare, big pharma, big oil, big banks, right? Don't take any of their money or any corporate money. We shouldn't be taking foreign lobby money as members of Congress, right? That would actually be the best way to create a stronger republic and democracy. And whether it's public funding or semi-public funding of campaigns, it really doesn't matter. But campaign finance reform, sadly, is intrinsically tied to our disposition as a country, and we must end that type of funding.
And I think, young people like Bushra coming into Congress are going to be the future of this country. So I'm so thankful that you put your head in the ring. It's not easy. I know that I decided to run at one time, and immediately Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy that I was challenging in 2019, he challenged my petitions. He had never challenged anyone's petitions in his life, and this guy got scared and challenged my petitions and decided to take it all the way to a court so that I don't get on the ballot. So some of these people who are so entrenched over here, they don't want to let go. And I was also talking about having term limits for Congress. We need to have term limits. When we have got term limits for a president, why not for our Congress and our Senate?
Yeah. I also think we need to expand the length of the term. So if we're going to have term limits, and I do agree with that because there's folks that should not be in Congress right now, but we should also expand the term of a representative. It should be 3 or 4 years because that 2-year cycle is so hard.
Cycle is so ridiculous. When we have 6 years for Senate,
right.
Every 2 years,
it's crazy.
70% of the time of a congressperson elected goes into raising funds for his next election, folks. Somebody wanted to say something. I guess it's Carl or Reed or Ken. Please go ahead.
It was me. It was me, Mohammed Reed.
Go ahead, Reed.
I had a fundamental question for Bushra. I just wanted to find out from her if she is a supporter of a two-state solution in that part of the country, of the world where Israel now exists. If she's for a two-state, and if she is, does she fear AIPAC would target her if she expresses any sort of support for Palestinian rights?
Thank you for the question. I'll lead with your second question first. I am someone who absolutely will probably be a target of AIPAC and any AIPAC lobby-affiliated money and funding. I'm very pro lives of all humans, that be Palestinian civilians, Israeli civilians that live in that area. And although my opinion of what happens in that area doesn't necessarily matter as much, I think Palestinians and Israelis both have the right to self-determination of how they choose to have their state lines moving forward, and whatever that looks like best for them is something that my opinion as a U.S. elected official and even the United States needs to stay out of moving forward.
Absolutely. Bushra, thank you so much for just being open about it. Yeah, folks, people have a right to live where they are, okay? They're all human beings. And for someone to go and starve human beings, and we are watching it in 4K every single day, our next generations are going to hold us accountable because this history is being written in front of our eyes now. Social media is writing the history. You cannot hide from what is happening over there or anywhere else. Even in Sudan, for example, there's so much starvation going on. Why is not the United States stepping up to do something over there? Why is not the United States going out and saying, oh, we can help some people? Why are we continuing to bomb people and use like $500 billion or something, some $5 billion, something that is going to Israel every year just for their arms purchases? And this is apart from the $3 billion that they're always already getting, right? I was looking at, I never thought that I would support Marjorie Taylor Greene in anything. Okay, especially on WCPT over here, but she's coming out with some very strong statements.
To stop. She's supporting that piece of legislation that would stop funding Israel's bombs and weaponry, right? And let's broaden it all the way out, right? Is that all countries have a right to exist. Israel has a right to exist. Palestine has a right to exist. They all should be free and safe and prosperous, right? That's what we want. Those are our American values. If we pull the lens all the way out, we should be treating countries with the appropriate amount of respect and have relationships with all of them. Those that we can't have relationships with in any real way, like North Korea and Russia to a certain extent, that's tough. But we should be treating people well and respectfully. And because we send so much money to Israel, and yes, they're an ally, right? Let's continue to send them money in whatever in a balanced way, not in a you're our number one customer way, because that's really what it gets down to, is that they're buying more bombs from us, so we like them better. Let's all be honest about that. So at the end of the day, let's treat Israel with respect, Palestine with respect, Rwanda, the Congo, Sudan, all of these places should be treated with respect and kindness, right? And the reason we're not, partly, is because we got rid of USAID. So let's bring back these better versions of our institutional norms and create respect throughout the world.
And the thing that, folks, I want you to be really aware of, Trump is not the problem. Trump is just the figurehead over there for the bigger issues of Project 2025 and all of those people that have come in. Stephen Miller, that guy, boy, if I see him in person, I'm probably going to puke on him, okay? It's that bad. And I don't know. He looks like he's just come out of a grave or something, and he's got that dead fish look on his face, and that is something that is going to be driving. If Trump is not there tomorrow, this agenda is going to continue, and that is something that we have to start talking to people about.
And that's why we want to start building bridges. We're at a pivotal point where, we're breaking down the support of Trump by just being the right people on the moral side of history, right? We're doing all those things on every topic, whether it's the economy or healthcare or whatever. Yeah. So if the Democrats and Independents stay together as they are, and they are very unified right now, I think we built those bridges right now. Take advantage.
About the economy, okay?
Yeah, we got a couple of people on the line. And I'm sorry, folks, we'll not be able to take your phone calls today. If you don't mind, please join us next time. Or you can call in and you can leave a message on our message line. I'm going to give you the number, and we can play your messages. The number is 312-879-8182. So you can always leave us a message on that line. That is 312-TLS for the lightning strike, 8182, and we will be having a complete segment that we can devote to playing your phone calls, especially when we get online over here. The time is so short that we are unable to take phone calls some of the time. So thank you for listening. We really appreciate you all for listening. But let's switch gears. Ken wants to talk about the economy. Ken, so President Trump's new tariffs and economic policy, who wins and who loses? This guy has now gone ahead and even shut down India now with a 50% tariff. So, Mr. Modi, your good friend, Mr. Trump, that you had so highly promoted in Houston, and I was there protesting against Modi when he came to Houston, saying 4 more years for Trump. How does that feel, Mr. Modi? Trump. Tariffs. Ken, your take.
Ken, there we go. Don't call me Mr. Modi. Anyway, Yeah. Basically, there's two major losses to the economy that Trump has initiated. Number one, the tariffs, which make no sense whatsoever. It's just a federal sales tax, which means things are more expensive. So he's a big inflation reduction guy. That's not happening. But even on top of that, he wants to lower the interest rates, which is also increasing of inflationary pressure because if people have more money in their pocket, the demand goes higher. As the demand goes higher, the prices go higher. So on both ends of it, we're at a big loss. Now, he thinks that he's bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. We don't want that. Benefits of trade is the reason why we have this. They have manufacturers overseas because they can manufacture cheaper than we can. We have raw materials that we can send there and work it out that way. In the long run, both countries win. He's a complete disaster on the economy, and now that people are going to start to notice, and there's going to be a lagging effect on this. They figure cars are going to be very soon like $5,000 more if you want to buy a new car. I mean, it's going to be a downhill snowball getting into a big, snowman by the time all these things.
Hey, Ken, let's not forget that we have a president who was so successful in business that he went ahead and bankrupted every darn business that he went into, including a casino. Man, how the hell do you bankrupt a casino?
He's had 6 bankruptcies. Okay, yeah, I mean it's crazy. Okay. He's 34 felony convictions, 97 times he pleaded the fifth.
Okay.
7 times on Epstein's claim, by the way. But yeah, I mean, it's
and that was just last week.
Everything that's there. 400+ million fraud judgment.
Yep, and so that is our so-called great deal maker president. Okay, we got 4 minutes to finish off the show, and I would really like to bring in our new producer intern Adriana to say a few words today so that you can get to hear her and as we go along and we expand the timing. We're going to be having a segment that is going to be focused strictly on the youth and their issues. Adriana, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for joining the team. Thank you for coming on board. A little bit about yourself, if you can let our listeners know who you are and introduce yourself.
Yes. Hello. My name is Adriana Alvarez. Currently, right now, I am a student at Purdue University Northwest in Hammond, Indiana. I am in my senior year. My background in radio, I have dabbled in producing, editing, audio production, and my main thing is podcasting. So hopefully I can bring some of that here to this studio to not only enhance the show as itself, but as I was listening and I hear everybody talk, I just love the conversation, and I feel that this is something that needs to be broadened on horizons more than just the radio waves, through podcasting, through YouTube, through Facebook, all the social media. So I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And folks, we got 3 minutes to finish off the show today. I'd like to thank Ken DeLuke for joining us, Read Bible for joining us, Carl Moose for joining us. Dr. Sheila White is actually doing a big conference in Joliet today, so she's not in the studios or on the phone with us. Our person of the week was John Petrick, again, great guy. We have Bushra Amiwala in the studios with us. Bushra, thank you so much for joining us. And, of course, Congresswoman Marie Newman is here with us to share her insights. We talked today about Israel's plan to occupy Gaza City, what it means for peace and regional stability. We also talked about Kristi Noem's ICE hiring move, no age or education limits, what this could mean for immigration enforcement, and Reed had quite a take on that one. Health and Human Services Secretary Kennedy pulling the vaccine funding, research on that, and public health implications, political fallout of that. We also kind of touched on the Texas redistricting battle, the fight over voting rights and democracy itself, and also President Trump's new tariffs and economic policy that is going to take our country down the drain. I mean, right now we can feel things heating up. A lot of retailers are going out of business. Even Walmart is announcing that they're going to be having some bare shelves coming up pretty soon, because you just cannot justify the tariffs. And this, God, I don't want to use the word idiot on the air for our president, but I'm forced to today. Okay. I mean, this guy is coming out.
That's being too beneficial. Make it moron.
Okay. So this moron now, not idiot, okay, claims that we got $40 billion in extra revenue. It is not from those foreign countries, my friend. It is coming out of our pockets as Americans, and we need to start up and sit up and talk about this. Thank you so much for listening to us. We'll be back next week with some more heat and some more lightning on the strike over here on WCPT. I'm your host, Mohammed.